Is having a business partner a good decision? Well, today we're going to go over the pros and cons of having a business partner. To begin with, let's talk about the pros. Have someone to bounce ideas off of. That's very important. So if you were to start a business by yourself and you have these ideas on how you should grow, how you should market, how you should handle customer service problems, besides a mirage of a million other things that come up every day, having a partner there is good in that way where you can actually bounce ideas off each other to the point of, look, is this a good decision, a bad decision? And, he'll have pros and cons, you'll have pros and cons, and together you guys will come up with a decision. So that's a nice part of it. You get to split the workload. Also, a huge part. So instead of you having to make sure that advertising's done, that all your marketing's done, that you're answering the phones, that you're dealing with the service calls, you're whatever the business may be, instead of you having to do all of that stuff, you've got someone there that is willing to split the load with you. Okay, so that definitely another pro to that. Also, probably the biggest one is they take half the risk financially. So when you guys are looking at this business, and if it costs you, say for example, like the mosquito police, if it costs you $20,000 to buy in, if you had a partner, you'd only have to come up with 10. He comes up with 10. You guys are a partner. So, and then all the expenses that you incur as you go through life, same thing. As you go through this business, you don't have to pay all the fuel bills yourself. You can split that with him. That all comes off the bottom line. Before you get to your net profit. Whereas if you had your own business, then it's all on you. You know what I'm saying? So therefore, and you have somebody to take over when you're sick too. If you're sick or you go on vacation, you don't have to be there every minute of the day if you have a partner that's willing to step in and you guys are clear with, hey, I'm going on vacation this week. It's all yours, buddy, and he takes care of it. That's another definite pro to this. And then, it can also be funner than going it alone. And by that I mean, you can go to work every day and you can sit in an office by yourself and drive yourself stir crazy. Or you can go into an office setting and come in there and your partner's over there and you're over here and, all day you can joke around about things or, you've got somebody to talk to and talk with. And that makes a big difference too. I know that. I can tell you that over the years, I have had business partners and the biggest thing I can tell you about that is 70% of the businesses fail. 70% of partnerships fail, and I know a lot of reasons why they fail. But we'll get into that in a little bit. But the cons, some of the cons to this whole thing are, you have to, number one, you got to split the profit with them. Okay, so all your hard work and everything that goes into it, if you both went in on it, you got to split the profit, right? And you got to be clear on who gets what. Is it 50-50, 60-40, 70-30? What's it going to be? You know what I mean? And depends on the workload or how much money they've invested in it. So that's definitely a con. The other thing is you need to get permission to do things. So like if it's your business, you don't need anybody's permission to go out there and market and spend, $3,000 on door hangers or newspaper ads or radio ads or anything because it's your decision. When you're in a business, you generally need to get permission to do a lot of different things. I mean, you're always talking things over with each other. And keep in mind, you will never be right 100% of the time. I don't care who you are, you're going to make bad decisions. Your partner will make bad decisions. And you can't dwell on those things. That's just a part of learning and just learn from it and move on. And you always have to remember that you're not right all the time either. Okay, so always keep that in mind. And you have to report to them. Whenever you have a partner, you're constantly like, okay, look, the marketing budget for this month is, going to be $5,000. Well, he might say, we don't have $5,000, so we only got $3,000 or whatever. But I mean, there's that constant reporting back and forth. It can be good, it can be bad, but I mean, it's good that you communicate and you get through that. And I've seen times when sales are slow and my partners wanted to increase the market spend. And I can remember when the recession hit back in 2008, and it was like everything is slowing down. It didn't seem to matter how much money we were pumping into marketing. It didn't help. Okay, I can remember that when that also happened, like our part of our landscape company, our design build, that went way down in sales, and the lawn maintenance, that stayed up. Okay, because that's a necessity. People needed to do that because they couldn't do it for themselves. Okay, but they didn't have to have that new paver patio, retaining wall, so on and so forth. So things do come up and things do happen, and you just got to roll with the punches. All right. Disagreements are commonplace. You will definitely do yourself a favor if you can find someone that is like-minded like you, and you guys see things the same way 90% of the time. But just remember, you're always going to have arguments. You're always going to have situations, disagreements where you have to talk things out and you have to get through them. Okay, that's just part of having a partnership. If you were just a sole proprietor, you wouldn't have that, because obviously it falls on you. You know, the sun rises and falls with you. You don't need anyone's permission. If you make a mistake, there's no one to argue with. Okay. But having a partner, you will have your days of arguments, believe me. And it could just be, you're just tired of being in the same office with each other. But things are going to happen, you know what I mean? Anyway, partners generally don't play well together, which I believe is why 70% of them fail, because of numerous reasons, like we kind of touched on here a little bit. But there are things that come up. Like I remember one business where I had a partner, and I was doing the majority of the work. And I was putting in all these hours and doing all these extras, and he would just kind of come and go as he pleased. And it didn't last long. You know, it was just, I think, 4 years or something, and it was over. But I just got sick and tired of it. I was just drawn out, strung out. He was right there with his hand out when it was time to make the money. But you know, we didn't have a clear, I guess, understanding of how many hours that we needed to put in. And I thought it'd be a partnership where we work together and do it, and it turned up being me doing the majority of the work. So that creates a riff, and as soon as that riff happened, then it was one thing after another. Then I was getting pissed about this, I was getting pissed about that, because in general, I'm just angry at him, okay? And because he's not pulling his weight. And I don't mind. I mean, we had a company file bankruptcy on us, and they owed us a lot of money. And my partner just kind of shrugged his shoulders like, yeah, whatever. And I'm like, no, that just wiped us out. It's not whatever. That's a big deal. You know, I mean, we have financial issues that come up, and they're a struggle, you know. And you're like, in the decisions, you know, I may see it one way, they see it the other way. I say a good example would be, I remember back before the internet was even out, and I was like, okay, we got to do these mass mailings to get word out about our business, okay? You can't get them in the door if they don't know about you. But when I told him we had to spend money to buy the marketing materials and to pay the postage to get them out to people, he didn't want to do that. So he just thought magically they're going to show up. Well, clearly they didn't, okay? And I couldn't get it through his head to spend the money on it, so that was one of the other issues that killed us. The blame game, what I just did, I just blamed him. Well, you're going to find in a partnership, you tend to blame each other for everything that goes on. You know, it's his fault that we're not making enough money, or it's my fault because I didn't market right, or there's always something. There's a blame game that goes on all the time with that, okay? Remember, and it goes back and forth all the time, you always think you're right. You do. If you're anything like me, I think I'm right all the time. I have had to learn the hard way that I'm not right all the time, even though I think I am. I'm not. Okay? I get reminded of that. It's usually by my wife, but whatever. So, anyway, to help create healthy partnership, some of the tips that I can give you are like, declare a vision early on. Okay? So, by that I mean, you need to know where you want it to be. Okay? And let's say, for example, before I get out of this company, I would like to make $1 million. And my partner, I'm sure, well, would you agree with me, partner? Do you want to make $1 million, or do you want to make 2, 4, 6? Where do you want to be? Have that vision, have it together, and whatever you do, put everything in writing. I mean everything. None of this handshake stuff. None of this. Don't you remember when we talked about it? When we got to 1 million, we were going to get out. No, that's not what we talked about, okay? You either need to video record it, have it sitting there so you can go back and see it, or have it all written down and you both sign it at the end of this thing. But one way or the other, have a clear vision of where you're going with your company. What the goals are when you start. Okay, here's what I want to get. Let's say I want to grow the lawn maintenance up to this high, up to $500,000 in sales, and I want the landscaping to be $1.5 million or whatever. Have your goals, set your goals, but make sure you're on the same page. If I say I want to get our business up to $2 million and I want to exit, okay, it's $1 million for you and $1 million for me. That's what I want the business to do. I want to build it to the point where we can sell it to someone. Make sure your partner's in agreement with you right from the very beginning. If he's not, you're going to have troubles down the road, because he's just going to kick and scream when it's time to do it and you say, look, we reached $2 million, let's get out. And he's going to say, oh no, we're growing too fast right now. We don't want to do that. Wait a minute. We have a clear vision. We both signed it. We agreed to this. This is a contract. This is what we're going to do. Okay? You can always, if the two of you agree, hey, yeah, you're right, we're growing like crazy right now. We'd be a fool to sell. We want to hang in this thing. Let's get it to 3 and then let's dump it. That's fine if you two want to talk about it at that point. Rewrite your contract so that when you hit that 3, you exit. All right? All right, that being said, make it clear who's in charge of what. This is another huge problem. So if, for example, back my business partner days, I would have them doing certain things and I would do certain things. But then what I found myself doing was I was then picking up a lot more of their work that they weren't doing because somebody had to do it. And I could bitch about it, I could complain about it, but it really didn't change anything. So if I ever did it again, it would be with someone and say, look, you're going to handle, let's say, all the marketing and customer service. That's your baby. You do all the invoicing. I am going to go out and I'm going to physically get the work done. Okay? You could be the paperwork guy. I can be the in the field guy, or I run the crews in the field. That's my job. Be very definitive on who's going to do what. You can always change it down the line if, hey, it's getting, the phone's ringing so much that, we need more help in the office, this, that, and the other. You can always bring other people in, and you cross that bridge as you get to it, okay? So you just got to communicate well with each other on that. But everything in writing. I think a lot of businesses fail because they think they're doing more work than the other guy, and you don't want that. You want to say, hey, we work 9 to 5. That's it. Let's get in the office and work from 9 to 5. That's our job. That's the way it is. No skipping out at 4 o'clock every day. No coming in at noon. None of that crap. Unless you're sick, you better be there. And be clear and concise so you both understand that. All right? All right. Communicate often. So many times when you get busy and you start building your business up, you'll find that pretty soon there's not a lot of time to communicate. One of the coolest things I ever saw happen back when I was in retail yet was every week the store manager would have a meeting and he brought everyone together, and you had a cup of coffee or a soda, whatever the company would buy, and you just sat down and you went over things. And he tried to be very positive. He tried to talk positive about changes even if they were bad. But communication was the biggest thing. He wanted to let you know that you're important and whatnot. And I think if the two of you stop doing this and just constantly talk about everything that's going on, talk about, hey, I'm really having troubles with the marketing because the dollars are adding up way more than what we originally allotted. I think we're going to have to spend more. What are your thoughts? And he might have some thoughts. He might say, hey, why don't you try Facebook or pay-per-click? Or, there's a million other ways to market. So it's good to communicate because you might get other ideas, right? All right. Declare a strategic decision-making process, okay? One of the worst things you can do is table ideas. If we don't find a solution to this, let's say, marketing example, if this is a problem that I think we need more money for marketing, the phone's not ringing, we need to do something else, it needs to be addressed now, not later. So make sure you set it aside and say, hey, every Friday or every Monday, we're going to get together and we're going to make these tough decisions and we're going to move past that. We're going to move on. Okay? You have to do that. You have to hold each other accountable and say, look, every Monday from 8 to 9 o'clock, let's meet for an hour. Let's talk about these things, however long it takes. Let's iron it out. let's see what has to be done, right? It's a good idea. Make sure you do that. And again, I talked about this before, nobody's right all the time. So you're going to have this stuff. So you got to communicate and work it out, work through it. All right. Profits. Be totally clear on when and if you pull out profits. Your vision needs to be the same as your partner's. So if I say I want to keep dumping the money back into the business till I build it up to a $3 million business and then sell it, okay, then I want my partner to feel the same way. What I don't want is my partner to say to me, hey, things are tight at home and I want to get HBO and I want to get Cinemax and I want to get all these other things, Netflix and everything else. So I need a little money. Can I take some draw out of the business, Well, no, you can't take a draw out of the business because early on we agreed we are building this business up, okay? And we're constantly reinvesting in it. We decided that long ago. I don't care what your personal life is at home, that doesn't matter. This is our business. We agreed to put all the money back into it, therefore, no, you're not going to take a draw. On the other hand, you may set it up where, hey, let's draw $500 a week for each of us. Let's pay ourselves $500 a week or $1,000 a week or whatever that might be. And then whatever's left from that, you could use to just reinvest in the business and just continue growing it. But be clear on that because you don't want this problem to come up down the line when your partner falls on hard times at home or you fall on hard times at home and you need the money. You can always address that with them. Maybe it's a payback thing like, look, I'm a little short on money this week. Can I pull a draw this week and I'll get it back to you once I get back on my feet? Things like this happen. That's where the communication, that's where that is vital to get that done. Okay, that's where that comes in. All right. Be clear on each other's investment. When you get going in this business, when you start the venture, you got to be like, okay, look, we need lawnmowers, we need trailers, we need trucks, we need blowers, trimmers, whatever your business might be, you have these expenses. And you need to know, hey, we need to get money together for these. We need to agree on what we're going to do. Who's in charge of that? If I'm the field guy in the operations, I'm going to want to pick out the equipment that I'm using because I'm responsible for all of that out in the field. I wouldn't want my partner that is the office person telling me what I need in the field or, oh no, you can't have that backpack blower because it costs too much. Okay, here's my budget. I'm going to choose those things. But you have to be clear who does what. They're in charge of marketing. They do their job. I'm in charge of the field. I do my job. You gotta be clear that, whenever you're growing your company, you try to please everybody, which never ever works. Never has, never will. But you need to be clear that just because one of you is a hard ass and you want to just tell the customer off every time there's a problem, you got to get that out of the way right away. Who's handling customer service? It's your office guy, okay? They should be the ones handling that, not you out in the field unless you have to go there and physically fix whatever your guy's screwed up. You know what I mean? There's a difference there. But that being said, be clear also on how many hours a week you work, because this is a huge deal. I've been in these situations, again, where I felt like I was putting in a lot more time than my partner was. And at the end of the day, I had to pull the plug on that because it wasn't working. And I'm not going to keep busting my ass and giving you 50% of the profits just because you showed up with your hand out on Friday. You know what I mean? That doesn't work for me. Or you put in your 10-hour day on Friday, but I didn't see you all week. That stuff doesn't fly. Determine your end game strategy. Okay. Oh, and the other thing, your expenses. Before I get onto that, your expenses are very important to go through. You're going to have them, and they're going to change. So you could start out with buying this equipment, and all of a sudden, your trimmers get stolen or something gets stolen, and then you have to buy more. So these things are going to happen. Your expenses are going to change. The bigger you get, all of a sudden, maybe working out of your house doesn't work anymore. You're tripping over each other. Now you need office space. So now you got to go rent office space somewhere or buy a building or whatever you're going to do. And then say you add more vehicles. Well, now you got additional expenses. It's great to have the money coming in because obviously if you don't have the money coming in, you're not dealing with these expenses. It's a good problem to have, expenses, because if all of a sudden we got to put a third van on, to spray mosquitoes, I can put a third van on to spray mosquitoes, okay, because the money's coming in. The money's in the bank already, you know. So that being said, just know that they're going to happen, okay. The end game strategy, so important. You have to go over everything, and do this in the beginning. Don't do it in the end, you do it in the beginning. You say, look, at the end of the day, if we're going to do this 50-50 all the way through, okay, who gets the assets? Okay, we own a bunch of equipment. Should we just have an auction at the end of the day? Get rid of it that way? Should we put it on Craigslist? Should we put it on eBay? How do you want to do this? We got to split it. We got to divvy it up. If you got 50,000 in equipment or 100,000 in equipment, do we divvy it up the best we can, or do we just say, look, let's have an auction and whatever we make, we split 50-50 and that's that? It's a good way to do it. But either way, be clear and concise right from the very beginning. Secondly, when you sell the business, make certain you've got your goal in mind, what you want to get to, and then exit at that time. You can always come back and look at it. Like I said, if you're making $1 gazillion now and it just shows constant growth and you're like, I don't know if we should leave just yet. It seems like we're doing so well. We keep adding a new van every year. Well, maybe it's not a good time for you to exit your game right now. Maybe you should stay with it, okay? Or it might be a great time to get out. Depends on what you got going on in the background. How old are you? When were you going to retire? Things like that. There's a lot of factors that factor into that. Who gets what specifically? We touched base on that a little bit. Setting the value of your business, that can really change. You need to set up too, if your partner may not want to exit when you hit, say, that million mark or $500,000 or whatever it is you're after. Let's say it's $1 million and you reach that and you want to get out, okay? But your partner still doesn't want to get out. Have an option in there to buy out. But here's what the buyout is going to be. It's going to be $1 million because that's what I wanted in the beginning, okay? So let's know right now that when that time comes to sell the business and it's worth $2 million, I want my $1 million out of this thing. So if you want to buy me out and keep it going, by all means, go ahead. You can be on your own then, but I still made my $1 million and I'm out. I may opt to stay in with you and just keep going up, or I'm getting out with my money. But one way or the other, be clear early on. Don't wait till it's time to do it. Have a strategy in mind. Have a strategy of look, in 10 years, we need to be at this point where we can sell this business and move on, or we just keep it going as a cash cow. Is this a lifestyle thing for us? Is it we just want to keep it going so that it improves our lifestyle? There's ways to look at all that stuff. But as far as the partnerships go, you're going to have to make that decision yourself. I see a lot of them. I've seen a lot of them fail. I've seen a lot of single businesses fail. So I guess I don't have the stat for that, but I wish I did. But I do know that 70% of the partnerships fail for the reasons I mentioned before, and there's others that I haven't. But hopefully that helps you guys out. If you like, hit the subscribe button down below, hit the like button, and as always, I appreciate you guys taking the time to watch this video, and I hope I've shed some light on some of these subjects. Thanks for watching.